So, does anybody else have like a post anime depression feeling where when you finish watching a really good show, it just kind of leaves you feeling empty inside because now it's like, well, it's over. What do I do now? And that's kind of how I felt yesterday when I finished watching the first season of Vinland Saga. I started watching it a while ago and I just finished it yesterday, and it was a freaking ride. Insanely good show. I've only seen season one. I've seen like 2 episodes of season two. I'm probably not going to watch season two for a while because I prefer to not watch shows while they're still airing. I like to wait for them to finish so then I can go back and watch the whole thing and get it from start to end. But I just kind of wanted to put my thoughts out. I don't know if you could say this is a review. This isn't exactly a review of the anime, it's more so just me talking about my feelings after finishing it. Um, I thought Thorfinn was a really cool character because throughout the entire journey, he honestly doesn't really change all that much. He starts off on this mission of revenge for wanting to kill Askeladd for killing his father, and his character doesn't really go any farther than that. He's just stuck in this cycle of wanting to avenge his father, and he's just completely consumed by his rage for it. And he never really develops beyond that. And while some people might say that that's a sign of a bad character because he's pretty flat in that sense, I don't agree. I think Thorfinn not ever evolving beyond that point of rage is actually a good thing because it plays into what the story was really about. And it's this cycle of violence and how the more you seek it, the more it will find you. Thorfinn dedicated his entire life to killing Askeladd, and the only thing that brought him was more suffering. Especially in the end, when Thorfinn didn't even get to kill Askeladd himself. So Thorfinn never actually got what he wanted in the end. And Askeladd even asks Thorfinn right before he dies, he says, basically, you've based your entire life around killing me, but now that I'm gone, what are you going to do next? And I think that might have struck a chord in Thorfinn. That probably was the first time Thorfinn really had a realization of wondering what is he doing with his life. Because now that Askeladd is gone, what can Thorfinn do now? What's he gonna do with his life now that his one purpose is gone? So that's an interesting question at the very end. Another point that I came across that I came to believe in is I felt like Thorfinn developed some kind of weird Stockholm Syndrome love for Askeladd during his journey. Because at the end, Thorfinn was so dependent on Askeladd to giving him a purpose for his life that now that Askeladd is gone, Thorfinn has no purpose anymore. And Thorfinn dedicated so much to pursuing him, I think that kind of made him sort of develop feelings for Askeladd in a fatherly role. Thorfinn kind of subconsciously maybe adopted Askeladd as his new father to replace his old one, in a sense. Because Thorfinn became so dependent on Askeladd to give him a place to live, a place to eat, a purpose for living at all. And I think that's something that played into Thorfinn's reaction when he realized Askeladd was going to die and he couldn't save him. Thorfinn was not only losing his purpose to live, this was also the second time in his life that he's losing a father figure. And I think that pretty much broke him as a person, as we see the guards carrying him away and throwing him into prison. That moment completely just broke his character, broke him down, and rendered him a shell. And then the last point that I wanted to say was kind of my interpretation of the title of the show. So, in the story, Vinland is supposedly this perfect utopian paradise of a land where there's no war, there's no pain, there's no slaves, there's lots of farmland, you'll never go hungry, you'll never get sick, you'll live forever and then die of old age when it's your time to go, and you'll just be happy, and nothing will ever happen, nothing will go wrong. It's seen as this idealized place that is supposed to be sought after and dreamt of. But that's the literal definition of it. My interpretation of that is actually more of a metaphor. What I believe Vinland actually is in context to the story and what Thorfinn's character goes through is, I believe Vinland is not necessarily a place, but it's a state of mind. It's a state of being. A state of being free from that never-ending cycle of hate and vengeance and bloodlust that Vikings are accustomed to. What it means to reach Vinland is not the literal idea of sailing across the ocean to a new place where you can escape the war. I think the more personal and metaphorical idea of Vinland is reaching an acceptance in your mind of not necessarily forgetting the past, but being okay with it and moving forward and not holding grudges that will potentially ruin your life and achieve a state of peace and contentment and satisfaction. That's what I think the story is really about. It's escaping that cycle of wanting to kill or be killed, the cycle of war and the cycle of just endless violence for the sake of violence. I think that is what the story is truly about.